Welcome this morning, guys. It is good to see you. Welcome to the Sunday gathering. It's so nice to be with you again. It's been a couple weeks, at least, hasn't it? I've been so busy, but it's good to be back with you. I see a bunch of you in the chat. I just want to say some hellos to you. Good morning, Linda. Good morning, Rick, Karen, Red Raven. Let's see, Susan, I saw up there. I saw Curious and Karen. I think I said Karen already. Alvin, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Chrissy, good morning. Good to see you. Gay Marie, little Nana. That one girl, Heather. It's good to have you. Fastenal and Deanna K. Good to have you. Thank you so much for joining, guys. I just want to say it is nice to be back. As many of you know, good morning, Deborah. I have been in the process of a move of my home. I think some of you had mentioned that you thought it was over already. It's not over yet. I wish it was over. But we are still finalizing the actual moving part. We finalized, of course, the purchase of our new home last month. But we've been trying to get to the point of moving everything. That's actually happening at the end of this week. So I just wanted to say it's most likely that I will not be able to do the Sunday gathering next Sunday. So a week from today, we probably won't be able to meet. And that's because hopefully we will be at my new house, but we will not have everything set up for it correctly yet. And because I won't be able to get a hold of like the cable company before the weekend, I probably wouldn't even have internet. It's just such a mess. But I appreciate you guys being understanding, and just the fact that you guys, you've joined back this morning after such just chaos on the channel. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here with me, and being loyal to this group of believers. Thank you so much. I see Laura there. Good morning, Laura. It's good to see you. But yeah, that's what it is. It is what it is. Man, we have so much garbage in our house. So I'll give you some statistics. I have run 6 or 7 full to the top of my truck bed or above the top of my truck bed full loads to the dump, essentially, to take them and throw that stuff away. 7 loads, full truckloads of garbage that we've kept and we didn't need. You know, we've been in the home we're in for I would have to do some math based on my daughter's age, but I think around 21 years. 21 years of stuff. There's just a lot that we've held on to that we didn't need. That's part of what moving does, right? It shows you how little you actually need. You don't have to keep all that stuff. But anyway, that's just how it goes. And we're just trying to finalize all that. I missed last week because we were at the new home trying to move stuff, get it moved in, and I thought I would be able to stream there, and I just wasn't able to do it based on what we had. So Chrissy, you're asking about my job. No, I have not. I have not changed my job. My job, it's fully remote, so thankfully that works out fine. The move doesn't affect it. Good morning, Rafa. It's good to see you. Yeah, it's just a big deal, big hairy deal. I'm so ready for it to be finished. Well, I don't want to run the welcome message today. I don't want to do it. So I'm not going to run the welcome message this morning. This is a day where David just does what he wants to do. How about that? Let's do our prayer time before we get started this morning. And so if you have prayer requests, please put them in the chat. And I will try to scoop those up and pray for those. Or rather, if you just want people to hear about it so they can pray for you on the live today, that's fine. But while you guys are thinking about prayer requests and putting those in, I'm going to go ahead and bow my head for what we're doing here today and the time we've got. Just thank God for it. All right, let me bow my head. Father in heaven, I thank you so much for this day. I thank you for the time to be with these wonderful people that have dedicated time to me and to everyone else on the channel to do this on a weekly basis. Thank you so much for bringing us back together today. Lord, I give the time here today to you, and I pray that you'll use it to your glory. That's the only reason I'm doing this. And just give us strength, give us purpose. I pray, Lord, that you'll bring topics that will encourage people, will lift us up, will glorify your name, and make us stronger. And please help me to do a good job with what you bring forward. Any scriptures we go into, just bring my understanding to the surface. Help me to understand so I can simply speak the things that you've given us. I thank you so much for this time. It's in the name of your Son, Jesus, that we pray. Amen. Linda, you said you had a prayer request for your former boss. You're working on her. She's a Catholic. Yeah. I know, Linda, you've talked about her and that you've been able to reconnect with her after the loss of that job. And so, guys, I just want to say on the channel, that's a big one. I don't know why I'm so emotional right now. Oh, gosh. But for Linda, she has reconnected with this boss who, if I'm not mistaken, let her go because of a kind of a woke thing. Linda had inadvertently said something that offended a very liberal individual. And this boss, not knowing what to do, sided with kind of cultural sympathies and let Linda go. Incorrectly, obviously. And I hope I'm not revealing anything, Linda. I just want people to understand that your heart is for this lady to understand. And and I think it sounds like in some ways she's coming around. So I'm really excited about your dedication to her. I know you care about her. And I just pray the best for you in reaching her. I really do. Red Raven, you ask what is heavy on my heart? I don't know. I don't know. Right now I'm just... So for me, I think for me there's... Trying to keep it together so I can just talk, right? Just let me say this. So you ask what's heavy on my heart. I think in general, Red, there's a lot of things that I'm thinking about. Of course, this move has me just all discombobulated. When you walk around your house and there's nothing's out, everything's packed, it's just a mess, boxes everywhere. That's one level of just discomfort. You can't do much. There's not much out. Even your books, you've put all your books up, so you don't have anything to read. Whatever. I'm just saying it's just a mess. You know that. But then on top of that, we do have my father living with us now, so that's a different thing. We're all still trying to get a little used to that. Us and him together making this move is difficult. It's not easy. But I think I don't know how to say what I'm about to say, but I told a couple people this week that I feel like this move for me is important, and I don't know why. I don't know why. It's super important and it needs to happen, like, fast. In fact, I felt that at the beginning of when we started even thinking about the area we're moving to or the house or any of that. It in general feels like something is about to happen. I can't explain it. I don't know. I don't know how to tell you what that means. But something has been telling me I need to get this move settled. And then it's for a reason, right? I've got to get the move done. And we've got to, I don't know if it's this place we're supposed to be, but there's some reason that I have to do this now. And something is about to happen, okay? I think something is about to happen. I don't know how to explain that. I don't know. I told someone the other day, I think I used the word cosmic to describe it. So I don't know what that means. But I will say, in my life, when I've had premonitions like this, that I feel like it's coming from God and I have to follow it. And I don't know the why of all of it, right? You can only know after. So I don't know why I'm even so emotional. I'm just trying to say that I think there's things coming that I don't. Laura, you say that we're all feeling something big is happening. Some need to stay put and others need to move. Right. Right. I think that's true. I mean, Chrissy, you ask if it's about leaving danger or entering into safety. I think it's multifaceted, Chrissy. I don't see it as just one thing. I will say this, that in Tennessee, where I have lived in the Nashville area, I guess they would call it Middle Tennessee. A few of you know this area, right? I have felt less and less safe as time goes on here. And I want I'll say part of that is because we've had a huge influx of people from out west, particularly California. I don't know why Californians and some Coloradoans seem to feel that Tennessee is the place to move, but they do. And I'll be honest, there was a time about a year ago when every single license plate I saw on the road was California. And no offense to the Californians, but in general, you know, your government is garbage out there. And I know that's probably not all the fault of the citizens, but I don't want your politics in my neck of the woods, for one thing. I don't. Yeah, Precurious, Tennessee is in the Bible Belt, so to speak. And Chrissy, you're correct. There's no income tax in Tennessee. No income tax. Laura, you said you have wanted to move, but in prayer you have been shown to stay put. Yeah, and I would follow that. I would definitely follow whatever. If you're in prayer, you're connected to God, you need to do what he's telling you. And again, maybe it has nothing necessarily to do with Tennessee as a location. Or maybe it's just my location in Tennessee God's warning me about. I don't know. But like I said, I don't know what this push is. But I do know the place that I'm moving is a wonderful place. There's so many things about it that are right for my family, my dad, for all of us, for myself. And so somehow God made this happen. Somehow he's allowed it to happen, I suppose, is the way to say it. I personally want to be where we're moving. I want to be there. I like it. I like the area more than any area I probably lived in my lifetime, just about. But I'm just saying it is what it is, and I guess that's why I'm emotional today. The other part of this I think I'd like to say too is that when I come on the Sunday gathering, you guys are super important to me. Like, I want to make sure that what we do here helps you. And you guys are coming from all sorts of places, all different areas of the world, really. And I just want to make sure, like this morning I was reading through Jeremiah. And while Jeremiah chapters 11 and 12 are interesting, I mean, from the standpoint of just understanding the Bible better, I don't know how relevant Jeremiah 11 and 12 is to us right now. Like, it might be relevant in terms of God's judgment, but God, we've had the message week after week in reading Jeremiah that God simply hates idol worship, and he hates wickedness, and he hates double dealing and lies, and that's what his people were doing, right, at the time. And so he sent the word of God, he sent Jesus pre-incarnate to Jeremiah so he would deliver these messages over and over to the people of Israel. So that's definitely relevant in a way. It's relevant. But overall, I mean, Jeremiah has 60-something chapters, I believe. It's going to be a long road to get to just more of that, right? And that's kind of where we're headed in Jeremiah. So I don't feel the need right now, today, to read Jeremiah right now. I just don't. I want to do whatever's going to help us, help you. So that's where my mind is, my heart is, and that's why I guess I'm emotional. There's a lot going on for me, but I want this to be successful for you guys as a church body. So I just don't understand why I can't talk straight this morning. Some other stuff you guys are saying. CCAC, it's good to see you this morning. You say it's refreshing to see our pain mirrored in you. Great. You say, living in Colorado, you two have seen the California plates. Colorado is becoming California, so now they're all going east. Sadly, they brought a lot of junk. Yes. I guess the eastward migration continues, right? Westwind, you said, I'm in one of the worst areas of the country, Minnesota. I've wanted to move too, but the resources have not presented themselves. Right. I understand. Chrissy, you've lived in Tennessee about 11 years of your adult life. Believe me, California is definitely politically fed or messed up. Been here almost 6 years. Yeah. And Deanne K, you say, I'm in Southwest Michigan. I've wanted to leave, but the Lord had me come back here 2 years ago for my aging mother. It is very liberal here. Yes. And, I guess I wanted to say, too, that it's not necessarily like the reason I feel this weird premonition and the moves happening and all this stuff about, what's coming next in our country, perhaps, or perhaps the world. It's not just about, like, liberals coming in, right? But to me, there's been a lot of things. And sometimes God uses a lot of different angles to help you understand you need to do something. And that could just be for me, right? Not for everyone else. So I don't want anyone to think that I'm telling you need to move away from any liberal areas, because I don't know that that's true. But I'm just saying everything about where I am has added up to I need to move. I need to get out. And the area we're moving to, it like lines up with everything. Everything in my life, in my family's lives. And that includes my kids and my dad and my wife and everything else. A lot of it lines up. So, anyway, it's a lot. I know you guys, though, are struggling with things too. Again, my heart is to help in whatever way I can. If that's reading through Jeremiah, it is. But if it's not, it's not. And I will do whatever you guys really are looking for. But Fastenal, yeah, I understand what you're saying. You say it's going to be biblical. I think it already is too, but yeah. Terry, you said blue moon incoming can cause emotional release. It's funny, before this live stream I wasn't emotional, but it's you guys. It's you guys. It's your fault. Yeah, Gay Marie, that's a good statement. Regardless of where we all are living right now, we are together in mind and spirit, right? And so that's part of this live stream, this connection we have on YouTube. Yeah. Terry, you say where you are in Tennessee, it's 50 years behind the rest of the country. See, that's a good place to be. Like, Terry, that's probably a good place to be. Thanks, little Nana. You say we're with you. Well, I appreciate that. I think we're with all of us, right? We're together. So just like some of you guys were saying. Well, that being said, maybe Chrissy, you said you definitely had it happen where it only became clear why it was necessary to move after getting there. Yeah. CCAC, you say it's comforting to see that I'm expressing kind of what you're feeling. Well, we're all feeling it. Patriot, I did get your topic from earlier, so I'll get to that today. I will. Thank you, Red. Appreciate that. Yeah, well, that being said, I guess we'll move on from that. I just wanted to... I think today I don't want to do Jeremiah. I read through it. I encourage you to read through it. I may decide to change from Jeremiah, because I just don't know that Jeremiah is getting us much of anywhere where we need to be in this time period. I'm really trying to think about that and what's possibly going to happen in this time period, and I'm not sure Jeremiah is where we need to be right now, but I will think about it. I don't think today we'll do Jeremiah. So I guess I just wanted to kind of say a few things then as we continue here. Well, Westwind, what you said is good, and what you just said is what we need to be thinking about. The sun's still shining. The birds are singing. The coffee is hot. Life is good. And I don't want any of you to take my emotion as like upsetness. And what I am talking about, what I feel in my heart is coming, is not it's not something, I don't think that it's like bad. I'm not thinking it's bad, and I don't feel it's bad. I don't know that I can explain it. But I think it's big. It's going to be hard to get through. That's what I think. That's what I feel in my heart. It's hard. It's difficult overall. So that's kind of what the prompting feels like. Not like dangerous necessarily, but I don't know for sure, but just Terry, you mentioned Daniel. I'll note that down. We possibly could go into Daniel sometime soon. I know that Linda, you asked about the Book of Jubilees because it's so interesting. There's so much in there that adds flavor or context to the scriptures. That's a good book we could do. We finished up Enoch. We finished that up this week, by the way. If you were on that live with us, I know some of you guys were watching it after the fact. Everyone's schedules don't always coincide for that, but we did finish that this week. So there is that. The Book of Enoch was great. I'm really glad we recorded those readings because I feel like we've established something nice that people can go back to. Anyone online that finds it can just get essentially an audio book of the Book of Enoch and read through it with us, when we did. And so that's great. Was a lot of fun, and I think it was a blessing to do that with you guys. So that was a good thing. Then I wanted to mention that I am studying something called this. It's called the Radical Reformation of the 1530s. I did a good bit of reading and research on this again this week. Of course, that's how it kind of happens for me right now. It's in spurts. So everybody knows about Martin Luther and the 95 Theses, right? That he posted on the door of the Wittenberg, whatever, cathedral in 1517, right? But what you don't know, what history doesn't tell us, no one in history tells us, Christian or otherwise, is that the very fundamentalist Christians of the time, they rejected Martin Luther's Reformation. And there was another thing that happened called the Radical Reformation. And this, I feel, guys, is kind of like where I feel like I'm unraveling the modern state of Christianity right now with this study. It's very, I think, important. Now, you got to realize that this happened right after the Dark Ages, right? The Middle Ages, so to speak, which we know, I think on this channel, we're pretty convinced based on history that was a very Christian age, a very good Christian age. And they call it the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages, because they don't want people to know about how good that age was, because Christ had essentially put down all rule and authority. Mostly Rome had been defeated. And then the effects of the church having gone out to all the nations was a revival across the world, really. And the Middle Ages seem to be the biggest growth period, I think, of all of that, probably. It was all over Europe. It was all over Saudi Arabia. It was all over Africa, Ethiopia. It was all over everything. Christianity was everywhere. So they call that the Dark Ages. And then right after the Dark Ages, you've got the Holy Roman Empire coming out, trying to reassert papal authority over Christianity, right? And then Martin Luther comes out in rejection of the Catholic Church and papal authority, so in a sense. But there is a further Reformation that occurs, and it is the fundamentalist Christians saying, no, Martin Luther doesn't have it all right either. Here's more about, and out of this radical Reformation of the time period of Martin Luther, in fact, Martin Luther debated some of the leaders of this radical Reformation, and we don't know anything about it in history. We don't learn anything about this. So there were debates between Martin Luther and these guys. And then out of this radical Reformation came many different groups, and I'm going to mess up the names, but Anabaptist is the one you'll probably mostly recognize. The Hutterites, I believe, the the teachings that became the Mennonite community. Mennonite is named after a man, and I'm not going to remember his first name, but his last name was Menon, and he was one of these guys, right? So what happens is, out of the Protestant Reformation, there's a counter Reformation called the Radical Reformation. And then out of that comes these really fundamentalist groups, like I think even the Quakers came out of this Radical Reformation. And what it feels like to me is that this was grassroots apostolic Christianity trying to toe the line in the midst of both the Holy Roman Empire and the Catholic Church, and then this Protestant Reformation, all pushing different directions. But then under there, you still have this undercurrent of real Christianity. That's what it feels like to me. And the more I study, the more I feel that way. As I'm uncovering these bits of history that I don't know why I've never heard of this stuff before. Why has no one taught this to me as a Christian? I didn't know there was anything other than the Protestant Reformation at the time of Martin Luther. But even in Germany itself, there was this undercurrent of really devout Christians who were like, no, it's even more than Martin Luther is saying it is, even further. So that's an interesting thing that I am really trying to dig into and get a handle on. What else are you guys saying? Anything about that? Patriot, you said, let's go talk about Ezra Bible Scribe. I don't know what you mean, Patriot, but I can talk about Ezra. Let me take that down as a note. I know that I started doing, the Ezra series. Maybe that's what you're referring to. But the Ezra series is definitely still on my mind. I'm going to continue doing the Ezra series with the books of Esdras, right? And going through the visions of Ezra. That's the name of the series, Visions of Ezra. So I'm going to continue that as I have time. I definitely will do that. What else do we have? You say, thank you, Red Raven, you say, thank you for Enoch. Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, I'm glad to have done it for you. Susan, you've been listening to that heavily. I know a bunch of you guys were involved. If you were involved and have watched all of Enoch, all of my Enoch series, I would like to hear that from you. What I'm actually doing is I'm kind of keeping track of who is reading what. So I know which of you guys, I think that's an accomplishment. I think you deserve a medal for that. That's a lot. So I'm trying to keep track of that, by the way. Deborah, you said praising God is helps you in comforting you for the fact that you lost your son, Austin. Yeah. I think we talked about that, by the way, Deborah. Was it a couple Sunday gatherings ago? I don't know if you remember that, but we talked about dealing with depression, and that gratitude to God was one of the main things that will keep you out of depression. Gratitude for the good things that you do have. Gratitude. Just my 2 cents. You said, may we discuss looking toward the throne of our Heavenly Father. I was recently reset by the very notion of approaching God's throne. Love you, brother. Claw. Okay, Claw. Well, let's do that. I don't recognize your name, so I think you're pretty new, maybe. Or I just, you don't talk much, which is fine. I've got lots of lurkers. I know it. Why don't we talk about that? Let's do this as a topic right now. Approaching God's throne. So let's talk about that. Approaching God's throne. Let me look up in the scriptures real quick. let me do this. So I'll put it on the screen. We're going to just work together on this morning. This is for you, just my 2 cent or Claw, whatever, whichever name you go by. I'm looking just for Bible verses that we can go to together, start talking about this. So Hebrews 4:16, let's go there. Hebrews 4. Uh-oh, Bible Scribe app, hurry up, let's go. There we go. 4:16. Yeah, verse 16, let's see, let's make this bigger. Let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. But the question is, like you're saying, just my 2 cent, what makes us think we can come boldly? Like, why would we think we can come to the throne of God, right? I think that's what you're kind of asking today. So let's go up a few verses to see that. So just in verse 14, I think we can see, it says, seeing then that we have a great high priest that is passed into the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold fast our profession. This is our profession of faith, I would assume. Yeah, essentially it's talking about the gospel that's been preached. So this is the news of Jesus Christ. That profession it's talking about, not to just be dull or blunt about it, but it is the profession of our faith, but it's the profession of Jesus Christ. Seeing that we have this high priest, this great high priest, that's Jesus. He has passed to the heavens already before us, right? He's there right now at the throne of the Father. For we don't have, it says in 15, a high priest which cannot be touched. But he was in all points tempted like us, but without sin. So let us come boldly. Now, so that's the whole key. So just my 2 cent. The whole key is that Jesus was tempted in all points as us, but without sin. Okay? So that's why he's this great high priest. And he's already at the throne. And he is our mediator, as the scriptures say. So that's why we can come boldly. Okay? It's not us. It's him. It's not us. It's him. It's because of Jesus. There's no other way we could do that, right? So, like what you're saying, just my 2 cents, when you said you were recently reset by the notion of approaching God's throne. Yeah, it's tough to think that we can. Just my 2 cent, you also mentioned Revelation 4. So, yeah, let's jump there real quick. Because I know what's in Revelation 4. It's all about the throne, right? It's the literal throne. I was in the Spirit. Behold, a throne was set in heaven, one that sat on it. He that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone, a rainbow around the throne, a sight like an emerald. And around the throne there were 24 seats, and upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, with crowns of gold. And out of this throne proceeded lightnings, thunderings, voices. 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne. They are the 7 spirits of God. And before the throne, a sea or a plain of glass like crystal, in the midst of the throne. And around it there were 4 beasts full of eyes. The first like a lion, then a calf, then a man, then an eagle. The 4 beasts had 6 wings about them and eyes. And they rested not day and night, saying, Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, which was and is to come. So that's the throne. I mean, that's what you're talking about. It's so big. It's so glorious. And in fact, by the way, I like to say it whenever I read about the throne of God. This is echoed, and these exact details are echoed in multiple writings. Of course, including the book of Ezekiel. But every time the throne is seen by a prophet in a vision, it's always the same. It's crystal, there's fire, there's the throne, it's on a sea of glass or crystal, and there's these beasts all around. It's always the same, so we know it's a real place. Every new writing we read that has the same description is another piece of evidence this is 100% real and exactly as it will be when we see this when we go. This rainbow that's green like emerald, it sounds a lot like what we see in the sky with the northern lights, right? Well, that's what it'll look like around the throne as well. That will be there, a bow of green emerald light. It'll be like that. So, I mean, yeah, just my 2 cents, just to make sure. I mean, that's what I see here. It says, you say too that you were grieved knowing you had nothing in your hands to bring. And all the things seemed to vanish. I heard him say, my light need carry nothing. That's beautiful. I mean, it sounds like it was a vision from God. Sounds like it. It was real. It was more real than this life, right? Sorry, guys. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I don't know what's wrong. Oh, what's wrong with me? I can't talk. Fast and all, I like what you said there. This right here. This right here. That's it right there, fast and all. You can't fathom the love he's given us. It's too big. It's too much. Maybe that's why I'm emotional. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot. Red Raven. Why is this expression of feeling wrong? Well, it's not wrong. It's just hard to talk. It's hard for me to get words out. That's the problem. My throat's closed up because I'm just beside myself here. I don't know. Thank you, Jimmy. Yeah, no, this is great. So this is the curse of being a live streamer, right? And doing what we're doing is this will be recorded now for all time. So I'm gonna come back here. I'll come back to this video at some point in the future, and I'll be like, well, what was wrong with me that day? What was wrong with me? Couldn't talk. Oh, goodness. Yeah. Well, I hope that was good for your topic you mentioned there. Just my 2 cents. Thank you for that. All right. There was other things I wanted to talk about today, just in general. I wanted to mention this. I wanted to just mention this because I'm looking into this right now. So I know it was, I think, Patriot, you kept bugging me through the weeks. You kept bugging me about the hagiographies. And I know that, I know now that I think you were getting the most of that from Jason Jack and his work. And I know earlier on, I think Paul Alexander on the Understanding Conspiracy channel, he talked about it or something, brought it to light. And then Jason Jack kind of picked it up. And then recently they had some kind of falling out because I think Jason Jack, the way I understand it, he used some material that the other guys, maybe Paul and some others, I don't know, felt like they had done that work and they had that was their material. And I don't know the details of that. I don't care. But all I know is that whatever the case may be, I feel like there is so much interest in these hagiographies that it is time for me to study them and to actually get to a place of decision on what they are and how valuable they are and if there is the information in them that people are claiming. So what I just wanted to mention that this is a part of my study right now too. I am looking at the hagiographies, specifically the ones that Jason Jack picked up. I believe that someone else pointed out before him, and that document he is using, by the way, is a compilation document, the linked document he has. It's not an original, okay? So I just want to make that clear. So I have picked up that document as essentially a reference point. I'm not using it as my source. What I am doing is using that document which supposedly quotes a bunch of other writings, and I am going to those writings and I am going to find out what's in them, and then hopefully that will give me some material to report back to you guys on. So just in general, I'll mention to those of you who are probably wondering, well, what are these hagiographies? So I'll mention that so you have an idea of what it is. But this on Wikipedia shows it's a biography of a saint or an ecclesiastical leader in the church. It is usually, they consider them, this is what the scholarship community says about them, that they are an idealized biography of a preacher, priest, founder, saint, monk, or nun, or icon of a world's religion. So it's not necessarily the word is used for things outside of Christianity, but in the context of what I'm talking about. The hagiographies are Christian writings that were written by Christians, monks sometimes, or priests or bishops, about saints, essentially like very well known or quote glorified saints that had passed on or whatever, and writing a detailed biography of what they did, things about their life. Okay, so there's a lot of these from the time period of about the fall of Rome up through the early 1000s, 1200s. That's the time period that we're talking about. Some of them apparently, as talked about by the guys I'm mentioning, Jason Jack, Paul Alexander, a few of these others, and I don't remember all their names, they are right now talking about these in context of their millennial kingdom beliefs. Of course, their beliefs are that, or they're toying with the beliefs that there was a earthly millennial reign of Christ from about the 500s to the 1500s. Okay? I disagree with that wholeheartedly at present. Okay? I disagree. There just was not a earthly reign of Christ at that time. Now, one of the reasons I'm reading these is because a huge number of people online think that what these guys are teaching about the hagiographies is proof that there was. I disagree. I've listened to a couple of Jason Jack's messages on this topic, and I don't believe he has ever shown me any hagiography that said anything about Christ reigning on earth. I've never seen it. he says other things and then says, see, that's proof of a millennial reign. I don't agree with that statement. Okay, now, even if, as he has purported, that he's purported, by the way, that one of these writings, or one or more, says that there were, here's what he says, that there is a city in the North Pole during this time frame, the Middle Ages, and that the northern lights are essentially the glow around the holy city. He calls it, I think he calls it New Jerusalem. And he says that at the time during this 1,000 years, that city lowered itself to the North Pole and sat on the top of Rupes Nigres, okay, the North Pole, this mountain at the North Pole that's hinted at in some obscure Middle Age writings, like the Inventio Fortunatae. Okay, so this is the allegations that these guys are making. So that's why I am getting involved, because too many people are coming to me saying, this is true. This is why there was a earthly reign of Christ. And I totally disagree. But that doesn't mean I can't study it, right? So what I'm doing is I'm taking those reference points that these guys have brought to the surface, and I'm going back to the original writings. I'm finding them. I am finding some of them, okay? And so I'm getting those writings. I'm going to have a huge translation task in front of me because they're in Latin, most of them, or Greek. And I'm not going to use any of these guys' work, by the way, for any of you YouTubers who are lurking and waiting to hear me say I'm going to use their work. I'm not going to. I'm going to the writings, and we will find out what they say. And even at that, we have to acknowledge that these writings came a long time after Christ. And so this, to me, is not the kind of writing I would just say, well, I'm going to believe that wholesale, right? So I've got to find out what's in them. And then based on what's in them, we got to find out what implications that has for us, based on the authority of the writings, who it came from, what time period, all of that. So I'm going to do the Bible scribe research on the hagiographies, and I'm going to find out these things. And then I'm going to report back to you guys on it. But this is going to happen at the time frame it needs to happen so that this information is accurate. It's not going to be like those guys where they found something, they thought was spectacular, and they just do some YouTubes on it. They do some live stream. That's not how it's going to happen with Bible Scribe, okay? It's going to be real. So I just wanted to say that I am digging in on this one because I think people are being misled about them. I think people are being misled. And so, again, I want to circle back to the document that these guys were using. It is not an original source document. I'm not sure I even trust the translations that are in this document that they are quoting. And they are essentially taking bits and pieces from different writings and then essentially reading them together and making it sound like those are all the same thing, when I don't think that's true. I think that there are holes in their research, in their discovery. So I'm going to try to expose the truth of what is in these writings. I really want to do that in a way that makes sense, and in a way that's studied and researched. I'm not going to just, use... The other thing about that document they were using, by the way, I don't know where it came from. I don't know. I got a link to it from Jason Jack's video, but I don't know who put that together. It's on a website that is full of all sorts of kind of really far out like claims and ideas and concepts. And I'm not saying that makes it false, but I am saying that that doesn't lend it any credibility. The site that it's on has all sorts of wild claims, speculative things on it. A lot about Christianity and other things, and a lot of things that I just don't agree with and I think are totally wrong. So anyway, I'm harping on this a little because when I get done with this, we're going to know what's in those writings. It's not going to be a fly-by-night, like I found this document on some website that compiles all these little quotes out of these writings that are in another language, and I just trust it to be true. And then I go on YouTube, like some of these guys, and I start making claims like, oh, that means there was a literal reign of Christ on earth. I'm not going to do it. So I just wanted to mention it because this is the type of stuff that a lot of people are seeing and questioning now and thinking that that's legitimate, but it's not legitimate research from what I can tell so far. And I'm going to do the best I can with it and give you guys what is true about it, okay? What's really there. And I'll show it to you. And when I do my videos, I will show it to you in the original writing. I'm not going to show you, I'm not going to just bring up quotes. You know, it's not going to be that. You know me. You're going to be reading through the writings with me. So we will do this and we will get there. Reality Witness, you say that a guy named Adam, who is a regular guest on Bridgewater Triangle Explorer channel, is the biggest proponent of the Hagiographies. Yeah, I think I remember hearing that name, so I'm glad you mentioned that. So, okay, yeah, you said Nana, he was on the Paul Stobbs channel. I misquoted, I miss doing the names because I don't talk to these guys all the time. I'm sorry. It's Paul Stobbs channel that I was thinking about when I said Paul Alexander. I don't know why I said that. And then Adam is the one that now these guys are all kind of interconnected and they're all talking, right? I know that they did like a coming together stream recently. I didn't watch it, where they were trying to work some of this out together, and especially the, you know, feeling like people had stolen other people's stuff or whatever. And I will say this, none of these YouTubers ever better come to me saying I stole their stuff, because I'm going to the sources. I'm not using their stuff. Okay? So that's why I'm not going to get into that kind of stuff with them. I don't care what they say about me or anything on my channel. I'm not using their stuff. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And I'm going to translate the crap and I'm going to show it to everybody. So we'll see. We'll see what comes out of it. And by the way, I'm willing to be convinced that I'm totally wrong about an earthly reign of Christ. The only problem with that right now is that that goes against everything I've read in the Christian writings. That goes against it. So they're going to have to, these hagiographies, once I get the original sources, they're really going to have to do a good job of convincing me that Jesus was sitting in a throne over in Tartaria, northern, Asia, Siberia or whatever, and that he was literally giving orders from a throne, and there were saints gathered around and they would make pilgrimages, or people would make pilgrimages to him all the time and see Jesus Christ sitting on that throne. That's what you need to prove there was an earthly reign of Christ. You can't have all this, oh, there was a city in the north where Christians went. That doesn't mean anything, okay? There were lots of cities where Christians went, okay? You've got to make your case. You've got to prove it. So that's what I'm going to do. I will either prove my view or I'll prove their view or another view. Whichever view is in the writings, I will prove it. But that's how it works on the Bible Scribe channel. It's not going to work any other way. So anyway, now that I ranted. Stacia, you said that Paul and his family received death threats after the hagiography show. Thus, he bowed out for the safety of his family. Okay, well, I don't know what to say to that, if that's true or whatever. If it's true and I do my research and bring it out and then I get death threats, we will see, won't we? Let me see if I get death threats. I'll prove some of this stuff. And if I don't get any death threats, I guess it doesn't, whatever. I just don't, I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that. If anyone gives me a death threat, it's on them. They will pay in hell. Okay? And if they kill me or my family, they'll pay in hell. That's not how it works with me. You can't hold that crap over my head. If you threaten me or my family, you're going to hell. I mean, that's I've got the power of Christ. I've got heaven on my side. If you threaten me and do something to me or my family, you go to hell for it. Bye-bye. I'm not worried about it. So, anyway, I'm not worried about that, Stacia. I don't care if someone said they received death threats. And I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying he's lying. I'm just saying I have no way to verify that type of statement. And it also doesn't concern me. If I do hagiographies and I get death threats, so be it. Amen. Praise be to God. Westwind, you say, don't death threats usually mean one is over the target? Well, yeah, but I mean, the problem with someone on YouTube saying, I got death threats, is that it's not verifiable information. And like, I would hesitate, if I had gotten death threats on something, I might hesitate to even mention it online. Like, because it doesn't help anybody. Okay, all it does is essentially force people that are listening to you to think that it has weight when that really doesn't give it any weight. And I'm not going to do that kind of thing. I mean, that's not helpful. So, I don't know. Just my 2 cents. You say, stay in the course despite the noise. Yeah, there's a lot of noise. Yeah, Red Raven, Candace Owens got death threats, right? Yeah, right. We sure believe that, don't we? I don't know what I believe about that crazy woman. Oh, Reality Witness, thank you so much for the super there. You say the Bible Scribe app is awesome. I've added, Bible Scribe has added early church writing references when you're reading the Bible in the Bible Scribe app. Yes, I have tried to do that, Reality Witness. I hope that there's a lot to add there. That's the one thing that to me is very, very crucial about the Bible Scribe app, is that you can add that stuff, and nobody else has that online really in a good way, where you can actually use it or click through to the other writings. And I really appreciate you saying something about that. That's really nice. Thank you. Stacia, yeah. You said some things there, yeah, about Paul. I know Paul is a young Christian. Like, he and I talked about that when I was on his channel that one time. I like Paul a lot. Like, I have nothing against Paul at all. I'm not trying to make this about anybody else. I'm just really, this whole spiel right now is just about me. I'm digging in, and it's going to happen. Like, this is going to happen. It's going to be done, right? I want to know. I want people to know what's in these writings for real. And I'm not necessarily saying anyone else did a bad job. I just, I don't think that so far what I've seen hasn't gone far enough into the writings, right? You didn't go to the sources. We got this weird document with some quotes, and we're now kind of running with some ideas. That's not enough for Bible Scribe, so it's going to happen. So I don't have anything against Paul or anybody else out there. I'm going to do my thing on it now. We'll see where that takes us. That's what's going to happen. But anyway. All right. Well, what else have we got on our list today? I think I'll stop talking about that. I was just kind of trying to, I was just trying to give you some information about what I'm studying on this topic, and that I am studying it. And I'm also looking at the same time at historians of the Middle Ages. Again, this is mostly for me about, was there an earthly reign of Jesus Christ that all these YouTubers are talking about? And they're saying things. They're never showing me any writings that say it. So I'm studying Christian writers of the Middle Ages like Nennius or Geoffrey of Monmouth or the Venerable Bede. I'm going to be reading their writings, right? And there's more than just those, but I mentioned them because people recognize some of those names. But there are other Christian historians of the time period. So it's all going to come out. The reality of it's going to come out. And I'm going to do it. I guess I have to do it. All right. Patriot, you asked this question earlier, and I want to get to it. I think this is one that some people might definitely want to know. Spell it right. Where does Yeshua HaMashiach come from? So you asked that question. this should be easy to answer, and it won't take very long because it's pretty clear and clear cut. Unless you have something else, like a different perspective you're coming from, like maybe you heard something on another channel or something about this. But I will just say that very basically, the Yeshua HaMashiach is a literal Hebrew phrase, right? Yeshua is the name Joshua, which essentially became Jesus in the Greek for our Savior. And so it's Joshua, and Ha-Mashiach is 2 words in Hebrew. Ha-Mashiach. Ha is just the, and Mashiach is Messiah. It's the word Messiah. In fact, the word Messiah in English was transliterated from, I believe, the Hebrew. That's why they say Mashiach and we say Messiah, because they took the word essentially out of Hebrew and just made it an English word. So that's what the words Yeshua HaMashiach mean. Joshua, the Messiah, or Jesus, the Messiah. So that's what that means. If, Patriot, there's something else about it that you want me to talk about, but that's generally the spiel on those words. They're straight out of Hebrew, and that's what they mean. So, in fact, the HaMashiach part of it is in the Old Testament a lot, of course, the Messiah, Mashiach. And then even in the New Testament, like the book of Hebrews, or a couple of them that have Hebrew kind of roots in the New Testament, they also use that kind of phrase. So anyway, it's just a very common Hebrew phrase. All right. Let's see. What else today, guys? What else? I'm on this emotional roller coaster. You can have your way with me. Oh, goodness. So if you do have any more topics, you can let me know. I've got one more from Linda. She's asked this, and she actually asked me on email this week to talk about this. So I want to give her this. So she asked about the 30 minutes of silence in heaven. Now, the 30 minutes of silence in heaven are a very specific reference in the book of Revelation. So let me bring it up on the screen. I believe it's in Revelation 8. So here in chapter 8, verse 1, when he had opened the 7th seal, and it is Jesus Christ in heaven opening the seals, there was silence in heaven for the space of half an hour. And during this, or thereafter, he saw the 7 angels standing before God, and then they were given the 7 trumpets. And then most of chapter 8 is about them preparing and then sounding the trumpets. Now, the trumpet judgments, as we call them, the first one was hail and fire and blood falling on the earth, and trees being burnt and grass being burnt. The second was a great mountain burning with fire cast into the sea, and a large part, a third part, it says, of the sea became blood. Then verse 9, a third of the creatures in the sea, that's all part of the second trumpet. They died and blah, blah, blah. The third angel sounds his trumpet, and a great star falls from heaven, burning like a lamp, and it fell upon a third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of water. That star is called wormwood. The fourth trumpet sounds, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and a third of the moon and the stars. So the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. So there was darkness. There was darkness. The moon and the sun and stars were kind of dimmed. And so that's the fourth trumpet. Then chapter 9 continues. The fifth trumpet, a star falls from heaven. This star is an angel, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit, which he opens, and a smoke arose, and there came out locusts on the earth, and they had power, as scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded they shouldn't hurt the grass, but only the men which did not have the seal of God in their foreheads. And then, let's see, scroll on down. That is one of the woes that was mentioned at the end of the last chapter. The woes, it said woes upon humanity, essentially. The sixth angel sounds his trumpet, and a voice from the four horns of the golden altar before God, saying, "Loose the four angels bound in the Euphrates." And they were loosed and prepared to slay a third of the men. Then we go, and none of the men that were killed by the plagues repented. They were still wicked after this. And then I think it breaks in chapter 10 and 11. And then when is the final trumpet? Yeah, chapter 11, by the way, talks about the two witnesses, right? And the two witnesses are mentioned in other writings of the Christians about being at the end when Antichrist is ruling on earth. And that they would essentially be testifying in the streets against Antichrist. And they would be killed and then resurrected. And so then, in that context, if this is chronological in Revelation, then it says, well, after that, that's the second woe. And the third was coming quickly, and the seventh angel sounded, and then great voices in heaven said, "The kingdoms of this world have become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ." Which would make sense, because at the end is when Christ delivers the kingdom to God. So this seven trumpets may actually, like I have said before, span history from the time of, like, perhaps the time of the judgments that started to be poured out on Rome, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th century, 6th century even, where there's blood rain and hail, and there's fires that break out in Rome. And this happens multiple times, by the way. Mount Etna erupts. It's on an island right outside of Italy, right? All of these things happen. Then we have 536, the year of darkness, right? That's mentioned in a number of writings of historians of the time. And at that point, Rome is essentially decimated, right? Well, then we have Revelation chapter 11 talking about things that seem to happen towards the end, like the two witnesses and the earthquakes. And then it says, "In the seventh angel sounded, the kingdoms of the world had become the kingdoms of the Lord and of Christ, and he will reign forever." So that kind of points us towards the end. The great white throne, the taking of the authority of the entire earth by Christ. Well, he already has the authority, but have the kingdoms all become his at the same time? I don't know. That's splitting hairs, really. So I wanted to mention, Linda, that the 30 minutes of silence, the half an hour of silence, is interesting. When we go backwards, we realize this is the seventh seal that's opened. So all of the 6 seals were opened before this, and they are opened in chapter 6. The first seal is a white horse who conquers, I assume, and pretty much 100% sure this is Jesus Christ. The second seal is the red horse with war. The third seal is the black horse, where the balances or money exchange gets problematic for people. The fourth seal is the pale horse, and it's famine and death on the earth. And all of these things could, of course, be correlated to what we see in the few centuries after Christ. So this is what I think about the seals and the pause, the silence in heaven, and the trumpets. That it's possible that you can in some ways see this all as chronological, but he is projecting out in the future, I believe, a lot of events. And just when you say there's going to be war, that's a very broad statement, right? He's not saying in the second seal with the red horse here, the second seal in chapter 6, verse 3 and 4, he's not saying that, hey, the horse went out in 200 AD and it started war on the earth in 201 AD, and then by 250 AD, the war was finished, and then the third seal opened. And then the third seal was black horse, and it was a pair of balances. No, it's not like that. I believe what's being shown in the seals is all the things God was taking and all the tools with which God was going to degrade the nations. All the tool sets. He has the conquering, Jesus Christ conquering. He has war. He has famine. He has money problems. He has all these different things. And those are the tool sets God is going to use over the time period where Christ reigns to take over the nations. Okay, that's the tool sets, is the seals, perhaps, is the way we can think about it. Now, when it says the seventh seal is opened, as we have, your question indicates, there's silence in heaven for the space of half an hour. All I can say to me, it's like that just feels like a breath between the things. So then it goes into the judgments. These judgments are much more directly specific, right? It's not like the seals, which is a red horse symbolizing war, or essentially bringing war to the earth. This is a little more specific. It is the first angel sounds, and hail and fire mingled with blood are cast upon the earth. Now, we have records in history of those things happening, specifically in the area of Italy and Rome. So we know these things happened, and it's not a question of whether they happened. But again, it's hard to be with Revelation, we're getting one verse that tells us there was hail and fire mingled with blood cast on the earth. Is that a single event, or is it talking about a number of events? I don't know the answer fully. You get so little detail here in Revelation that you have to back away from it and say, you just don't have the knowledge, because they didn't, John didn't write it in this book for you to fully know, yeah, that's a specific event and here's where it was in history. He was looking hundreds of years in the future, right? He was being shown things by God. So we know these things happened, but we don't know the exact details and specifics. So to me, I guess, Linda, when it's talking about the silence in heaven, I think that it could have been a breather between what it talks about in the seals and then the trumpets. It also could be thought of this way. When the seventh seal is opened, and then they knew that the trumpet judgments were coming, perhaps all of heaven took a breath and stepped back because they knew what was going to happen. It says that the angels were standing before God and they were given these trumpets. And there was much smoke from the incense on the altar. The prayers of the saints were risen before the throne. By the way, the angels' jobs some of them are to bring the prayers, the messages of the saints to God, to his throne. So the prayers of the saints at this time, now the prayers of the saints, when I hear that, I start thinking about the martyrs and the saints, the Christians in history that were being killed for their testimony. That's what generally is being talked about throughout Revelation. So at this point in history, wherever it's talking about, there are saints praying for this judgment to come, praying for the wickedness of the nations to be judged. Now, there's all sorts of time periods through, the 500s, 600s, 700s, even prior to that, where this would have been the case. Christians were being killed by the Romans. They would have been offering up prayers for God to judge the nations, including Rome. So all I'm trying to get to is that, perhaps the silence was like heaven waiting to hear what God was going to do next, because it was so bad. By the way, in thinking about how bad it was, one of the angels in verse 13 says with a loud voice, "Woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by reason of the voices of the trumpet of the three angels which were yet to sound." So the fifth, sixth, and seventh angels, he says, "Woe, woe, woe." Now, this could be seen that the fifth, sixth, and seventh trumpets were the three woes being talked about in general by the angel. And so we have 1, 2, and 3. talks about the first woe being this star falling from heaven with the key to the bottomless pit, who opens it, and locusts come out and scorpions, and they sting humans on the earth, the ones that are not Christian. They don't have the seal of God. So that's the first woe. It even says here, where does it say it? Yeah, it says after these creatures whose king was Apollyon came out and did this thing, then that woe is past. And there were 2 more to come. So that's the 6th and 7th trumpet. The 6th angel sounds. The second woe is these angels from the Euphrates, and they come out and they slay 1/3 of men, right? The number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. This makes me think of the army of the dead in Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. It's the army of the dead coming forth to slay men on earth. And then these men did not repent. Then we have chapters 10 and 11. The final woe then is at the end of 11. The final woe is, let's see, the trumpet. Well, when does it say the final woe? Great voice. 7th angel sounded. Yeah, that's it. That's the final woe. The final woe is that the kingdom's all fallen into the hands of Jesus Christ. And they say, we give thee thanks, O Lord God Almighty, which art and wast and is to come. Now, look at this. This is interesting. This should help all you guys who are very preteristic in your thinking. He says, after this has happened, all the kingdoms of the world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he will reign forever. Then they say, you who are and were and is to come, right? So this somewhat seems to still preempt the final coming of Christ in the end. Maybe that helps me chronologically wise think about this, that, these woes come against the kingdoms before his final coming, So anyway, I don't know, Linda. I went through a lot, and I didn't really look at your comments here. But what were you saying? Do any other scriptures talk about praise and worship to God in the throne room for 30 minutes, stopping in heaven? It's a blip, but it's powerful. Let me look real quick, Linda, if I can find it anywhere in all of the texts I've got. Let me do silence. Let me do this search first. Yeah, that's not helpful. That's just the verse we just looked at. Let's try half and hour. So what I'm doing here is I'm searching for any verses in any of these books that have the words half and hour together. I'm kind of using the search to my advantage here. So Secrets of Enoch, Book of Enoch 2 doesn't really have anything. Discourse on Abaddon is different, doesn't have it. This is interesting. Eusebius's church history, he recounts some of the things that happened in the 1st century. He said, at one time a star in form like a sword stood over the city, and a comet which lasted for a whole year. And again, before the revolt of the Jews and before the disturbances that led to the war, when the people were gathered for the feast of unleavened bread on the 8th of the month of Xanthicus, the 9th hour of the night, so great a light shone around the altar and the temple that it seemed to be bright day, and this continued for half an hour. So, I wouldn't necessarily think this relates to the half hour in Revelation 8:1. This to me seems like a very literal half hour occurrence, and it's just kind of giving a time frame for how long it took for that to happen. So I wouldn't say this is the same half hour that's in the book of Revelation that we read. Kebra Nagast, that's not relevant. And then the book of Life of Adam and Eve is also not relevant. So I really don't have, Linda, I don't have any other references to places that seem to be talking about a half hour of time, or that kind of an event. Maybe there's something else I can search for. Like, let me do this real quick. I'm going to search for silence and the word heaven together. Just, I'm seeing what I come up with here. So that's not relevant. Yeah, that's not relevant. It's probably not going to have it. This is an interesting statement. Book of Enoch, the second book of Enoch, Secrets of Enoch, 18:1. The men took me on to the fifth heaven. Enoch is traveling through the levels of heaven. And they placed me there in the fifth heaven. And I saw many countless soldiers called the Grigori, of human appearance. Their size was greater than that of great giants, and their faces withered, and the silence of their mouths perpetual. There was no service in the fifth heaven. I said to the men who were with me, etc., etc. So that's an interesting statement. That doesn't really have to do with what what you're talking about. Yeah, so I don't have any other references to that to bring forward, Linda. So I'll leave it there for now. Joanne, I see you are interested in digging into Daniel and then also Isaiah, your favorite book. Okay, I'll take that down as notes for the future here. Okay. Well, what else, guys? Do we have any other topics that I have missed? And I will apologize if I have not seen something that's been posted in the chat. Heather LC 1989, thank you for that. You say, sending much love and blessings for your move. Since discovering you, always been looking forward to these Sunday gatherings. Thank you for all you do. Oh, well, thank you, Heather, for saying that. It's an encouragement to hear that stuff. That's more than money, gold, anything else to me, is hearing that it's helping somebody somewhere, right? So I think that's all I can ask from you. Thank you so much for saying that. It's good to hear from you, since I don't think I've heard from you before. If I have, I don't remember. Apologies for that. Westwind, you said, maybe I've talked about this before, but what do I make of the large number of people converting to Roman Catholic and Orthodox? You personally know evangelicals who converted Catholic. Well, let's talk about that. I think that's a really good topic. Let me get it on the screen right. Sorry. There we go. Gotta get it so it fits. Yeah, a large number of people converting to Catholic and or Orthodox. You know, there's a lot to be said for this. Hold on, I gotta make notes. I gotta make notes on what I want to talk about. Hold on. There's one thing there. Let me see what else. All right. So yeah, here's the thing. There's lots of things. Let me try to pull this apart. This is a tough one. Thank you, just my 2 cents. You say you helped me more than you know. M. Claw. Well, thank you. I'm glad. I'm really glad. That's the purpose of this. And it's again, it's not me. I don't care. I guess I get so much joy out of that nothing else matters here to me. I mean, of course, there's some sadistic part of everyone who likes people watching them on a YouTube channel, right? And I'm no different. I like that, but that's not what it's about. So that, again, just my 2 cents, that type of thing is what I like to hear and what makes me want to keep doing it, right? There's nothing else that makes me want to keep doing this, right? Except hearing from you guys. All right, the conversion or groundswell of Catholic and Orthodox. So this will get a little, I think this discussion may get a little political, and so forgive me in advance, but I think it requires it. I would assume that most of you guys on here are from Protestant denominations. Is that an incorrect assumption? So Protestant being like, you know, Baptist, Lutheran, Methodist, you know, I don't know, some of the other groups, I think even like Seventh-day Adventist might be called Protestant. But anyway, just denominations like that. So that's one thing to understand. Like, if Christianity is this circle, Protestantism is like this. It's like this little bit of a big circle. It's a fourth of it, maybe. I don't know. What's the actual stats? Let me see if I can get that real quick. Christianity denominations percentage. I bet I can find something pretty quick here. So here's the stats that just came up for me. Approximately 50% of Christians are Catholic, 37% are Protestant, 37%, and about 12% in Eastern Orthodox. So the remaining 1% include others like Jehovah's Witnesses, Latter-day Saints, which are still considered Christian denominations. But Protestant is mostly what I mentioned. But that's, like I said, of this circle, it's what, I guess 37 is about that. But, and charismatics, you mentioned Reality Witness. You mentioned charismatic. That's the same. It's Protestant denomination, right? So that's what that is all about. So I think we as Protestants need to understand that if there was a coming back to God thing, a coming back, like a revival thing that happened that was big, unless that was a Protestant only revival, if you want to call it that, it would include necessarily Catholics, lots of Catholics. So that is what I think is actually occurring. I think many people are coming back to God. And the swell that you see that seems to be very Catholic, part of that might just be that the Christian world is majority Catholic, okay, across the whole world. And I'm not trying to comment on the good, or whether that's good or bad, right or wrong. I'm just saying it's a fact. So if there's a groundswell in Christianity, people coming back to their faith, people, you know, revitalizing their beliefs in God, a large part of that is going to be by default Catholic, okay, whether you like it or not. So that is part of it. That's one part of it. Now, the other part, which is interesting, is I feel like, by the way, all the background of this is that I believe there is a revival in progress right now of people coming back to God, more towards God. Now, that doesn't mean everybody understands everything that I've ever learned as a Christian or whatever, or, you know, that's not terribly important, but it is important that they are coming back towards God, saying, we reject the things we've seen in the world, this wickedness. We reject wokeism, all the LGBT garbage that's been thrown down our throats, the people trying to mutilate my children and take them away from me when they're in grade school, the wickedness of our politicians, and the obvious horrible practices that they have in the dark shadows of the night. People reject that. And in rejecting that, they're realizing I need to go back towards God, because I didn't realize how far down this other path we were. And it is horrible. So part of this awakening of people realizing, the noticing They are noticing that it's wicked, it's evil, it is the devil, it is Satan. And they are turning around to go back. Well, what are they going back to? A lot of them had roots in their childhood in Catholic Christianity. So that's part of it. And then a lot of them are Protestants going back towards Christ saying, I'm rejecting all this stuff. But part of that is, too, that they, just like you and I, there's a lot of recognition, I think, across the world that the churches, they didn't help us with this. All this stuff we're finding out about our world, we had the church the whole time. We had the churches, the Baptist churches on every corner, the Assembly of God on every corner, the Lutherans, the Methodists. We had all of that, and none of it did anything to stem the tide of Satan getting a hold of our country and our politicians and all of that. So there is an innate, subconscious acknowledgement in every human being right now that is seeing this stuff that the churches were ineffective against this. The churches were 100% ineffective in stopping this from happening. Our governments to be corrupted, our children to be taken from us, our overall lives to be full of just worthless churning on social media and all this nonsense. Our churches were ineffective. So it doesn't matter if you love your church or the people in your church. That can all be fine. It's fine. But the reality is that church didn't stop anything that has happened. None of it. So what people are doing in their heads is saying, what can I go back to? They're changing. They're saying, I need to get back to God. Now, what can I go back to? And part of, I think, the climb of people, the swell of people towards Catholicism is that Catholicism offers a little more structure than normal Protestant Christianity. So the Protestant Christians, they've all been doing coffeehouse gospel for the last 2 decades. They've been doing concerts at every, sermon. Their sermons are worthless. But at least when people go back to the Catholic Church, they see them reading scriptures and being very solemn and being, respectful with what they're doing. I think that, to be perfectly frank, is a draw for people over the Protestant churches. So when people are starting to come to this realization, man, there's been severe wickedness in this world. I need to go back to God. I think that they're trying to aim themselves at something that looks like it has a semblance of order and, organization and something reliable they can count on, because none of the churches have had anything reliable they can count on. And I think that's one thing that I think some of the Orthodox churches and the Catholic Church have over Protestant denominations, and that is that they are at least solemn with what they do. They're respectful. It's honoring in what they do. It's taken seriously. You don't get a concert when you go to the Catholic Church or the Eastern Orthodox Church. They read scripture. They have order. It's not just random. I mean, I think that is why there are some people that are headed towards Catholicism and those types of religious practices, because they are looking for something to hold on to right now. It's so crazy, and all the wickedness is so nuts, and it's being understood now. People are awakening to it, that people are trying to head towards something they can count on, and they are seeing Catholicism and Eastern Orthodox or Orthodox in general, and they're at least seeing some structure and some respectful interpretation of religion, right? Whereas with the Protestant churches, all they see is a bunch of jackasses jumping around on stage, not doing anything valuable. But at least if they go to a Orthodox service somewhere, they get scriptures read to them. At least there's that, right? So that's part of it too. That's another part of it. So the first thing I'm talking about is just realize that, number one was that 50% of Christianity in the world is Catholic. So there will, by necessity, be a lot of Catholic swell if there's a revival across the world, which I think there is. Number two is what we're just talking about. In this search by people for something that takes them away from the wickedness of the world, they're looking for something with some structure and some reverence. And they can find that in the Catholic Church and Orthodox churches. But there's a further thing that's happening too. There's another thing that's happening. Now, I don't know if you've noticed this, but you can go to a number of influencers online, and what are they doing? And you probably will know who I'm talking about. You've got some of the biggest names in social media in the past 10 years, and they are Catholic. And so you have, for instance, Candace Owens. And yeah, you're totally right, Westwind. Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes, both Catholic. So when people, young people especially, they're going to these people and they're listening to they're hanging on every word. And Westwind, wasn't sure about Tucker, but you mentioned Tucker. Is Tucker Carlson Catholic? He might be. Tucker, it says, identifies as Episcopalian, which is actually close, as far as I understand it, somewhat close. But anyway, what I'm just trying to say here is that when you have influencers like these guys and they are pushing Catholicism, there will obviously be a lot of people that start dabbling in Catholicism just because they are doing it. Now, we can go down a dark tunnel here, if you will allow me, because I see a dark, dark tunnel with these people. And I have now for some time. To me, it hit me in I think it was this March. It just landed on me like a ton of bricks that all of these guys are being paid to do what they're doing. These people make millions of dollars. They are not like you or I. They make so many millions of dollars, it's ridiculous. And so they don't understand you, and they don't understand me, and they are almost always working on behalf of other people. That's just how it works when you are working at that level with that kind of money. Do you think that for Candace's polished podcast that she does almost every day, that she also has time to be a really good mother to her children while she's doing a super high level, super professional podcast that probably just the recording of one of those things probably takes an entire day just about? Do you think that she's also sitting with her children back at home like you do and teaching her children good things and reading them bedtime stories? I'm sorry, but God impressed upon my heart that is bullcrap. That those people do not live like you and me. Influencers do not live like you and me. They're not like us. And so I guess what I'm saying, I'm getting off track, but I believe that there is a paid, concerted effort to push Catholicism right now, to push it. By the way, Erica Kirk has been now, since Charlie's death, she has been pushing things like that. Or, well, no, wait, I think I misspeak. I think Candace has pushed the idea that Charlie was coming towards Catholicism before he died, that he was dabbling himself. And I'll be honest with you, when I've heard Candace say that stuff, I thought she was lying through her teeth. I don't think Charlie was becoming Catholic. But Candace wants you to think that because she's being paid to get you to think that. They are paying people to push the Christian groundswell towards Catholicism. Why do you think that might be? Why do you think that they might be paying people like Tucker and or Candace and or Nick Fuentes and or all these guys? Wait, what's the other one? Hold on a second. Let's see here. Yeah. I'm letting AI tell me some things that I have no time to search for, so hang on one second. Oh, I remember one when Carrie Prejean came out and had her big interview with Tucker. Remember her? Well, she spent the next 2 months on X. I don't know if you follow. I followed her because I was curious. She spent the next 2 months on X pushing Catholicism. So do you see how whoever's paying Tucker got Carrie Prejean on? Carrie had already left the ethics committee that she, harped about in her interview. She went on there, paid, Tucker Carlson paid, and she ranted, in a way that we would all accept it. Yeah, oh yeah, that bad Paula White and those Zionists, they got her. And that could be true. I don't know, and I don't care. It doesn't matter. But Prejean then proceeded for the next 2 solid months on X to beat up on President Trump every day and push Catholicism every day. Every single post was those two things. Do you think she's not paid to do that? Do you think she just out of the, she randomly had this thing? Oh, I think I'll post 6 times a day on how bad President Trump is and that he's a Zionist and that the Catholic Church is the way to God. Do you think that that's random? It's not random, let me tell you. It's not random. These people do not live like you live. They are not like you. So, again, I apologize for becoming a little political in this conversation, but this is not political. This is fact. This is things that are real, that we need to be aware of. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that I believe part of the groundswell in people being interested in Catholicism has to do with the fact that it is a paid interest of some party out there, some dark party that you become instead of a real Christian that's searching for God in the scriptures, that you join the church. And which church? The Vatican. They want you to join the Vatican. Because I don't know if you've looked lately, the Vatican is bad. Like, the things the Pope says, even now, are against scriptures most times. They're not conservative viewpoints. They aren't Christian viewpoints. The Vatican has been bad for a long time. No offense to any of our semi-Christian or semi-Catholic Christians here. But the Catholic Church is not on the right path. They have been a system of control in the world since the end of the Dark Ages. And that's some of the stuff I've been studying, right? The Holy Roman Emperor and Empire is a system of control. And so you got to ask yourself, why would influencers be paid to push people towards Catholicism? Why would influencers be paid to push us towards Catholicism and not towards Jesus and the Bible? Why doesn't Candace say, you need to know Jesus and the Bible? You don't have to be a Catholic, but you need to know Jesus. No, she doesn't ever do that. It's always in the context of Catholicism is the right way. So why are they being paid to push you into Catholicism? Because the Vatican is a system of control. If they can listen to me, listen to this. They know people are waking up. They know people are moving back to God. So they have to think in their beady little minds, these evil, evil people at the Bilderberg and the WEF. They think to themselves, how can we shift that groundswell into our control mechanisms? Well, the way we shift it is we get them into Catholicism, because we have it. It's already there. It's our system of control. We've been using it for centuries. If we get all these Christians into Catholicism, then we have control over them. We can tell them what to vote for. We can tell them all this. Then it doesn't matter what Trump or anybody else does with the country. They will vote the way we tell them. They will do what we tell them to do. If now, as the Catholic Church, the Pope says Trump is a bad guy and we've converted all these people to Catholicism, well, then he'll be the bad guy. They'll vote any way that the church tells them to. They'll vote for Kamala Harris. They love her, right? They will do whatever the control mechanism says. That's why influencers are being paid to push you into Catholicism. They're being paid. It's all money going through the system. You got to stay. I don't know how to say it any other way, but right now, and part of what we talked about at the beginning of this live stream, right now in history, you need to listen to nobody but God himself. You need to listen to God through Christ. You need to read the scriptures. And I have always said on this channel, your Christianity, your relationship to God depends on you only. All I can do really is either help you with information or mess you up royally. But I should never be a part of your relationship with God, so much so that you rely on me above the scriptures or anything else. You know, you guys here that are with me and that hear me all the time, I hope that, you know, in general, you either see me showing you in the Bible what we are talking about, or you take it and then during your weekly Bible study on your own, you verify what I said. Make sure that I didn't lie to you. Make sure that I'm not a paid weirdo like some of these influencers, because they are weirdos. Can you imagine your whole life being wrapped up in who did I make $1 million from today, because they're going to want me to talk about this. And if I don't talk about this thing, they're going to take away my $1 million, and they might take away my house, and they might take away all my stuff. But I've got to do what so-and-so big money says, because they just gave me $1 billion. So I got to talk about what they told me to talk about. I mean, that's just part of the game. But you and I don't think that way, because we don't play that way, and we're not in that game. But their minds are all wrapped up in that. And so, you know, lying through their teeth is part of what they do every day. Lies are part of it's part of the script. They just read the script. They don't care. They don't care. You and I care. But influencers don't care. The big ones don't care. They just don't care. And I even see it, honestly, I hate to say this, I see it with small influencers too. When they start getting lots of views and there's money coming in, that's the beginning of it, right? That's the start, where they start talking about the things that make them the most views, the most hits. They get the most traffic from. And that's the beginning for these influencers. When you start chasing tail, that's what I call it. You're chasing tail. To be very crude, you're chasing whatever makes you the most money. And I get it if that's your you know, your sustenance, your entire livelihood, then I guess I understand you definitely want to put your eggs in the right basket for making money, but at the same time, you got to understand you're sliding down a slope. But once it gets into not the hundreds or the thousands of dollars of income from like what you're doing in social spaces, when it gets to the tens of thousands and the millions, think about what that does to you. Think about that. And we're not talking about people who just organically came and became these influencers. We're talking about people that have been in this game for 30 years. They have done their paces. They have received capital investments from some of these big money people that we're talking about, some of these control structures. We could go back and check, like Candace Owens, she literally has gotten money from people that you would hate. You'd be like, oh my gosh, if I realized she had gotten money from them, I would never have listened to her in the first place. But yet that is a part of who these people are. So I'm ranting, but it's because I want you guys to realize, I just want you to realize, I want, again, like I said at the beginning of this stream, I want to give you things that will help you through this time period. And part of that is, I believe, one of the biggest things is to not latch on to people. And I mean, I can include myself in that. Don't latch on to just me and say, oh, he knows all the good stuff. He's got it all nailed. I mean, I do my best, but that's probably not true. I probably don't. So, but what I do want people to know during this next time period that's coming is that you should not latch on to people and assume, especially these large influencers, that they know what they're talking about. Any of them. It's only worth as much as you can throw it, and as far as you can throw it. It's not worth much. It's only information, and you have to take it all in and just let it wash over you. It's just going to happen, all these different things. It's going to be crazy. But the money coming into those people and those power structures right now is at a fevered pitch because they can't lose what they're about to lose. They cannot lose what they're about to lose. They're about to lose all of humanity to God. They're about to lose it. People are moving back towards God from Satan, and they don't want that. They don't want people waking up to the power structures. But part of waking up to that is realizing that these people who make 20, 30, 40, 50 million dollars a year doing live streams, that they are only doing that for the interests of the money, the people with money. It's only for those interests. It's not for you. It's not for you. It's only for those interests. That's the way it works after you start getting millions of dollars. It's only about those interested parties. So I'm going to stop now. Talking about that. Thank you for listening. Red Raven, you say, yeah, the money, though, is your laundered tax dollars. A lot of it is. And, we can only hope that will be rectified in the near future. Deborah, yes, you say, remember God uses even evil people to his purpose. That can happen. Yes, he can. But, yeah, I don't know in this context of this discussion what you exactly mean by that, but I just have to caution you all. I have to caution you. Because there's blood in the water out there. There's blood in the water. There is blood in the water. I have been amazed in just the last few days at the amount of posts from all sorts of people on the alien stuff. The different races of aliens. I mean, it's ridiculous. And there are people that don't know anything about aliens posting about aliens. So it's that to me is another signal. In the noise, there's a signal. Right now, there's a signal of the UFOs and alien disclosure. And I believe that seems like it's going to continue until that Disclosure Day movie of Steven Spielberg's, quote unquote, releases, which is what, June 9th? And but that's what I'm trying to say is, like, we have to understand that no one person that's talking about any of that stuff knows everything or knows almost anything. But there's a signal in that noise, and the signal is that they are pushing the narrative, that the narrative right now is pushed through social media right now, that there is UFOs and aliens, there are races of aliens. And the other thing I keep hearing about that is that when you find out the truth, even your religious proclivities will be shaken to the core. Your beliefs in God and Jesus and all that, it's going to be shaken to the core. Get ready, because your religion will be shaken to the core. That's the message that is, it's the signal inside the noise, and that's what they're pushing from all angles right now. Multiple races of aliens, and they still are talking about them, by the way, as galactic aliens, space aliens, right? So that's the narrative. They are space aliens, multiple races, and when you learn the truth, it will shake your religious beliefs to the core. You will reject them. That's the signal, and it is being paid and promoted. That signal is being paid and promoted. I wanted to show you this. This is the other interesting thing, I think, of this Disclosure Day movie. I don't know if you noticed this, but all the pictures and iconography coming out of the Disclosure Day movie are like this. It's the one eye, right? Here's another poster from the movie. It's the one eye, right? I mean, have you noticed this? It's all that. Here's two different... There's another, they do one poster with the woman's eye and another one with the man's eye, but it's the one eye. So I don't know about you, but that makes me really question what the intent of this movie is, right? And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that everything in this movie is going to be a lie, but I will tell you, I know that Steven Spielberg, in my heart, in my head, is dead and has been replaced. And I know that I think this is the screenplay writer, David Cope. He has done some other notable works in the past that would be interesting if you take a look at what other movies has David Cope been the writer on. You should look at that. Some of them are very interesting. But this Disclosure Day movie seems to be... Oh, here's another one. How many times can they promote the one eye narrative with this movie? I don't know. So this says June 12th is when that comes out. So I guess it's the 12th. And by the way, 612 is 6 and 2 6s. 666, right? Disclosure Day, 666. All seeing eye. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. I mean, it's so stupid. I don't even know what to say anymore to some of this stuff. It's just, it's really ridiculous. Yeah, they got the... It's like they're trying so hard. I would say that my hunch right now is that Disclosure Day movie is mostly going to be propaganda. I have a feeling it will push the same narratives. It will push the same narratives they're driving right now on social media, which is multiple races of space aliens that came from other planets. Even if it's dimensional, it's still the same thing that they're talking about. And then, number 2, it will shake your religion. It will change the way you view religion. So expect that if you see the movie. I may see the movie, but because of this iconography, I don't know that I want to pay money to see this movie. I don't know that I want to support it with my money. That's the problem. I do want to see it, but it's for purposes of really research, not for what's in it. It's to understand the narrative they're pushing. That's why I want to see it. So, Patriot, you said you were telling your cousin about that last night. She had no idea that Spielberg was a part of the Red Shoe Club. Yes. Yeah. And Laura, yeah, they're saying that the aliens were our creators. They've been pushing that narrative since, as I showed in my video, the 80s. So it's just crazy. Well, that got us off the topic of the Catholic Orthodox thing, but I think I went through the points that I wanted to mention there. I think to me it's been obvious there is a push for that to happen, the Catholic groundswell to happen. And I want no part of it, obviously, because I don't believe the Catholic Church has anyone's best interests or God's best interests or Christ's best interests at heart. They're not actually pushing the kingdom of God. I believe they're pushing the kingdom of earthly control. And so that's what I will continue to say about it. But with that being said, I don't know. We're getting to a time frame where we usually kind of wrap up. So if you guys are good, I'm good. Or if there's anything that you want to talk about right now, there's something you have to know about or we need to talk about before we go, then you can put it in the chat and I'll do it. Otherwise, we'll wind down. Let me get another sip of my coffee. It's getting low. I've enjoyed being with you guys this morning. I hope that the discussion's been interesting. I just kind of went where freeform, where I thought things were headed this morning, and talk about what's on my heart. As you guys saw, I was trying to keep from being too emotional about it. Chrissy, you said, what do I think Q meant by saving Israel for last? Has my view changed, or what was meant by that statement? Has the original plan been altered? Trump seems to have changed after Butler. No, I don't think the plan has been altered. I'll just briefly talk about this because I don't like getting into these political discussions. But I don't think the plan has been altered. I believe that at the early time, the plan was set, and it is going exactly as they knew it would. And I don't think the plan was based on time frames. It was based on markers, just as the posts said. So when certain markers are hit, they enact certain other things. Then when the next markers are hit, they do more. They do this, they do that. It is a back and forth game of chess. It was already decided. And as the fake Katy Perry #2, who I believe was established by the White Hat, said in the song Champagne Problems. The entire thrust of that song, in context with that album and in context with the plan, is that they only have champagne problems now, meaning they have solved the problem. It is over. The plan is done. It will come to pass, and all they have left to do is watch it happen. Champagne problems. So it is an event-based plan, as you say, Fastenal. So I believe it's done. It's over with. It's just time now watching it play out. It's already accomplished. Laura, you said Jesus did not come to give us our best life now prosperity gospel. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Absolutely. The story, you say, Laura, though, you're mentioning this, the story is written by God. He tells the end from the beginning and he wins. Yes, he will. By the way, I will say that over time I've realized that, generally in the last few years, my viewpoint on everything in the world right now has continued to be very positive. I don't think that means that it's going to be easy or that no bad things will ever happen, but I continue to stay very, very positive about where things are heading and what will happen in the future, mainly for America and other countries as time goes on. But I will say that feeling has grown stronger and stronger. However, as you know, by what I said earlier in the chat today, that that doesn't come without some trepidation about what's coming. It's going to be powerful, if that's the right word. Maybe rough. It's going to be powerful. It's going to be hard. All right. Thank you guys for the encouragement. So many nice things you guys say to me. I appreciate that. I really do. I'm here for you. So let me know if anything comes up this week. Send me an email. I'll do my best. Just know that towards the end of the week, I have my move, and it's going to be I'll be very absorbed with that move. So but if you want to email me earlier in the week, then feel free to do that. And I will try to, maybe I'll have a chance. I don't think we're going to do a reading on Tuesday night. We've been doing the Book of Enoch, but I haven't really decided where we want to go next. So maybe instead of the reading, I'll try to get a video out this week before all my move starts happening. That'll give people something to look at. Maybe it'll be a Visions of Ezra video, or
it could be related to the hagiography stuff if I'm able to get through some of those writings. So just be on the lookout. I'll do my best. And thank you guys for the time this morning. Thank you so much. Appreciate you all. God bless and have a great week.